Today's episode is double stuffed because we have another special guest joining us this week. This guest has been all over the industry for nearly 2 decades, and he chronicles it all in his new memoir, Self-Sabotage and Other Ways I've Spent My Time, out now. From his days coming up in comedy with Cola Scola, to his nights as a sex worker in New York City, to his credits in shows like Search Party, 30 Rock, and Shameless, he's here to talk about his journey, plus the best and worst portrayals of sex work on screen. Without further ado, please welcome to Keep It, Jeffery Self.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Oh, my God.
Great.
It's such a thrill to have you on this show. I've known Jeffrey forever. We were once upon a time in a review at UCB called The Gay Beatles, which was,
I was about to say,
me, Jeffrey, Brian Safi, and Guy Branum. And I still don't know how we landed on the words Gay Beatles. But
me either. It's
we're
not
the Gay
a great
Beatles
title.
forever.
I've got notes
No,
on it.
why were we that? I don't sing. Like, what? Yeah.
None of us sing.
and-
None of us can probably even name a Beatles song. I mean, unless they're like covering
No.
Diana Ross. I don't know. I don't know how we landed there. I want to say it was Guy's idea, but I'm just pointing and blaming somebody.
I would be happy to blame Guy. Thank you. Good.
Yeah, he can
And
handle
you
it.
and I just did. It was last year, but you and I played Lindsay Lohan in The Parrot Trap.
We both played. Finally, people who were wondering when are those two gonna play Lindsay Lohan as twins, and Kevin Zach answered that. We did it at Littlefield, right? Is that what that place is called?
Littlefield. Yeah.
It was so fun. That was such a fun night.
I associate you with dynamic comic performances. You just have a genuine knack for characters, period. But how much pleasure do you take from actually just physically sitting down and writing? Like, it feels like you have kind of as deep an introverted part of your brain as an extroverted part.
Very, very much. I don't love leaving the house, so writing is sort of just kind of like the only option at this point, and just like ordering takeout. And do I like writing? Not really. No, I don't. I think it's pretty a miserable experience, and it's all the bad things that are cliche to say about it are absolutely true. I mean, Ira, you just had your wonderful book come out. I mean, I'm sure it's a similar, it's a very insular, strange experience, especially when you're writing about yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's awful.
And I'm also like you. It's like I love staying at home. I feel like the only time I've run into you is when I'm going to CVS and you're walking your dog.
100%. Yeah. And I'm stopping in Rite Aid to pick up meds usually as well. They're just like, we're upping them again this week, are we? Okay, let's see what's in the bag this week at Rite Aid. But I feel like we live near each other. But yeah, I never see absolutely anyone. But I will say I don't want to write a book again anytime soon. It's so boring. It's such a boring experience. I just like want to be like on a TV show, like answering calls, like in a call center. I just like want, like, you know what I mean? Like, you wear like the same outfit. You're like, I want to be like a tech guru on like a CBS show. That's all I want at this point.
You want to be on Matlock?
I would love to. I mean, well, that's a different can of worms. I mean, that's like, I want to be on Matlock. Do I want to work with Kathy Bates? Duh, obviously.
Or Elsbeth, like Nathan Lane, who was just on this episode. We talked about you. Because you mentioned him in your memoir.
I do.
Yeah, let's get you a receptionist role on Elsbeth. They shoot in New York.
Absolutely. I'm very excited for it. I read the pilot and it was so fabulous. I auditioned for a role in it, but then I didn't get it. Spoiler alert. And but then I found out they wrote the role out, and I was like, I took that as a sign that they were like, well, if he can't do it, nobody can. But then I spoke to like 4,000 other gay guys that were like, oh yeah, I tested on that. I was like, oh well, I didn't go that far. They just didn't watch my tape. Okay, good to know.
Is it a pleasure to be just a hired actor on a sitcom? Like when you just come in and do a part, or is it particular pressure not having rapport with the people around you or having to build a rapport quickly?
Well, I think especially on I've only been on a sitcom once. I was on Hot in Cleveland, and it was like my first job in LA, and I find sitcoms really hard because I can't see without my glasses. And so so much of it is like hitting your mark. And so I find that really difficult. But it's really weird when you do like a guest star thing and you show up, on like a set where people all like know each other. And I mean, I always feel like I'm going to get fired. And so far I haven't, but I feel like I came close. I did an episode of iCarly, sorry, no autographs, please, last year. And I was in a really dark place when I did it. And I like got in an argument with the director like day one. And then because I was mad, I was like full like anti-mask actor. Like I was like, they wanted me to like do the run through of this sitcom in like a COVID mask and shield. And I like was not getting laughs, and they were giving me notes. And I was like, well, if I wasn't wearing a mask, I would get laughs. And I then they were like clearly annoyed with me. And then the entire set got shut down like 5 minutes later because someone got COVID from not wearing a mask.
Oh my God.
And then so it got shut down for a month. And I was sure, I was like, there's no way they're bringing me back. Like this, I have been toxic from the moment I stepped on this set. I've refused to wear a bow tie. Like I've not made any friends. And but I then somehow again, I mean, I think casting's just lazy. They brought me back.
Yeah.
A triumph of laziness.
I'm really coming across as someone
so
you want to hire. I'm here to get jobs, boys. I'm here to get jobs.
One of the things that you discuss in your book, obviously, is your Craigslist sex work. And you talked about how this was something that you discussed at dinner parties, and then you were finally like, let me put this in the book.
Yeah.
So what was this like, I guess, sitting down to be like, I'm going to write out this thing that I've comfortably told, in a warm room before to now have it be in a book and be a thing that, well, now I'm going to be asked about this for the rest of my life.
I know. Well, I didn't think about that. I was like, really just sort of like, well, this will cover 50 pages. But now it is weird because it's sort of all I've been talking about for a few weeks now. And, I did sex work pretty much full time for a little over 3 years, and until I moved to LA, and then I tried to do it there, and they were like, "No, we're good. You don't have abs." I was more of a New York kind of sex worker, more downtown kind of scene, and but I didn't. But I never like I used to talk about my life on stage and in other ways, but I never was talking about that. And I think when I did it at the time, I was also, it was when me and myself, when my friend Cola Scola and I were doing our show on Logo, Jeffrey and Cold Casserole, and we were having like this weird sort of version of success in that like we were, being written about in Time Out magazine, and, strangers were following us on Facebook, but like we were not at all. I mean, we're getting paid, $5,000 and splitting it between us to like make this show. And so we have this sort of outward version of success, but neither of us, could afford to live. And both of us, I got Cole into the old trade, into the tradition. And it's how we got by. And so it was this weird sort of thing where, sometimes I would go over and have sex with someone for money, and they would at the end be like, "Love your show." And it made me feel, like Candace Bergen, and as we all know, she did as during Murphy Brown. No, but I felt in writing about it, like looking back at that time, I was so stressed about money, and I was so stressed about like wanting to succeed and seeming successful while I did this thing. But in retrospect, as I wrote about it, I was just like overcome with like pride and joy and like gratitude that I did do that. And I met a lot of really beautiful people, and sometimes not lovely, nice people. But like I met a lot of people that really helped me out at a time in my life where I don't think I would have like stuck around New York City and continued like pursuing my dreams if I had not, been jerking people off for $100.
I want to say maybe it was Nico Santos or something talked about once how he would be a comic who had just appeared on TV, but then he was also that night a waiter at a restaurant or something. Like people, like it must be confounding to be what somebody's idea of success is, but then they don't understand that like you don't just get like a platter of money you live off of. You know, it's like it's still gig to gig basically.
Yeah, and this was like such early internet days. I mean, I feel like you were doing the verbal voguing videos back then, probably around the same time. And
yes, I believe I'm still waiting for a paycheck from.
I was going to say, and that's how you bought your Malibu house, and it was
right. Yeah, the Palm Springs one was. I saved that for exactly. my Vidster. Yeah, right.
But it was, it's this weird thing. And I mean, I think I take comfort in like the fact that I think we're all still on some level. Like, I think you're always doing that. Like, I was thinking about like when I was watching the Oscars, I was like, half the people in this room literally don't know how they're going to pay their rent this month. And like, we're watching this going like, oh my God, this is so glamorous. This is so exciting. But the reality is like, everyone is faking it at the end of the day. Like, I mean, there's like 6 people in the world that aren't faking it, and everyone else is they just are. And I take comfort in that. Yeah.
I believe Eileen Heckart, who won the Oscar for Butterflies Are Free at 72, she fabulous Goldie Hawn movie. She the next week picked up a welfare check and was applauded in the welfare line by people who had just recognized her from the Oscars.
Oh, I love that. I don't know that story. That's great. That's good trivia.
Yeah,
that's the movie where
she's also in The Bad Seed. Yeah,
Goldie Hawn falls in love with a blind guy, right?
Correct. Yes,
yeah.
It's a very Neil Simon kind of looking movie without being Neil Simon. Correct.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Sorry, my dog is barking because he hates Eileen Heckart.
Yeah, sad enough.
He's like, God, she kind of gets a little overboard in The Bad Seed playing drunk. I mean, we get it. You've had scotch at 9 a.m., but we get it.
He would have booed her in the welfare line.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
She was so good. And she plays Diane Keaton's mom in First Wives Club, right?
Correct. A movie that secretly has like twice as many famous people as you think it does. Correct.
Oh, every time you rewatch it, you're like, you're in that?
Right. Stockard Channing, you had 30 minutes of time to film this? Right.
Yeah, 100%. And I believe she actually jumped off that building.
Oh, if anyone's method. Yeah.
100%.
Keep It is brought to you by Planned Parenthood Federation of America. No matter what, your sexual and reproductive health decisions, including abortion, belong to you.
Planned Parenthood organizations are fighting for common sense policies that protect our right to control our own bodies and futures and keep personal health care decisions between patients and their doctors, not unqualified lawmakers. Nearly 80% of Americans want that. The attacks on Planned Parenthood, our health care, our basic rights, they just don't stop. But you know what else doesn't stop? Planned Parenthood. The amazing staff and volunteers at Planned Parenthood health centers across the country do whatever they can to provide high-quality, affordable care to 2 million annual patients, no matter what nonsense some people in power try to pull.
You can help. Donate to support Planned Parenthood at plannedparenthood.org/protect. That's plannedparenthood.org/protect. And let me tell you something. My mom, as a single mom who worked too hard, loved her kids, and never stopped, Planned Parenthood was always there for her.
And Reba's there for me. It all works out. Keep It is brought to you by Manukora Honey. You know what I'm putting honey in all of the time, every day? That would be Greek yogurt, my friends. I cannot believe there are people on this earth who eat Greek yogurt without a couple of blueberries and a little bit of honey. Pure decadence. I act like a woman in a commercial when I'm eating it.
Well, let me tell you something. Manukora honey is rich, creamy, and ethically produced in the remote forests of New Zealand.
Oh, New Zealand, much like Lord, much like Jane Campion.
Manukora's bees collect the nectar from the manuka tree in New Zealand. The nectar is packed with bioactives, packing the honey with 3 times more antioxidants and prebiotics than your average brand. It's a game changer, and all you need is 1 heaped teaspoon each morning to get the most out of the amazing benefits.
Your New Zealand accent is definitely your worst yet. We cannot let Taika Waititi hear it. Now, it's easier than ever to try Manukora honey. Head to manukora.com/keepit to get $25 off the starter kit, which comes with an MGO 850 plus Manuka honey jar, 5 honey travel sticks, a wooden spoon, and a guidebook. That's manukora.com/keepit for $25 off your starter kit. That's MANUKORA.
So I want to ask, having written about this, having experienced it, we just came off of Honora winning Best Picture, and there was all this controversy, about a young sex worker beating out Demi Moore, even though she tried to get her Oscar for a sex worker film, and it just turns out Striptease was bad. Right. What are your favorite portrayals of sex workers on film?
Well, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, they water down Sweet Charity, and she's no longer a sex worker like Knights of Cambria. I don't know.
Knights of Cambria, yes. Yeah.
Yes. So in the musical, she's no longer. But I always watch that through a sex worker lens, and I always find that I think that movie kind of shows sort of the joy of sex work and like the sort of
they support each other. The women
empowering.
do.
Yeah. And I've always like when they're, doing that, standing on that bar and, talking to the big spenders, I find the camaraderie of all of that quite beautiful. And again, I'm going to say the same with Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, where it's like,
yes.
It's like y'all are having fun. And you're looking after each other. And it's going to be a hard candy Christmas, but that's okay because we're in it together. And I love when sex work is shown as like not a gritty, underground thing where it's shown as this sort of, duh. People obviously pay for sex. Like, what are we pretending they don't? And I like when it's just sort of shown as an obvious thing that is nothing to be ashamed of. Whereas I think both those movies sort of do that. And I loved Honora, though. I did love Honora.
Me too. I thought Honora was great, and that's a magnificent performance and a fine Oscar win.
Absolutely.
One that comes to mind is Belle Watling in Gone with the Wind. Now, I don't know if you know this about this movie. The social mores of it hold up in every way. There's not one thing that's dated at all, so just trust me on that. But she's like, I just am obsessed sort of with the trope, and this goes along with Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, of like, the wise old madam who runs it, and yet she's like maybe the most expensive one who runs the joint, and yet wears like lovely clothes. But she's an office worker. I don't really know what she does, but like the authority she had in that movie, I love.
Yeah, it's like, are you doing paperwork? Like, what are you doing all day? Like, what are you up to in your office? Do you have an office?
Who's running this? Yeah, yeah. Do you take care of the mailbox? Like, what happens? Yeah.
Who's checking the mail?
That's kind of
babe?
like the madam. It's kind of like the madam in Poor Things, but then also it makes me think of Julie Christie in McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
That's true.
The hardest Bob who ever lived, Julie Christie.
Very much, very, very much. I don't know if you ever listen to Mark Maron, but he will just not shut up about McCabe and Mrs. Miller. He is just... it's like every episode, it's like he has just discovered it for the first. It's like he's Pauline Kael in the all of a sudden he will not shut up about that movie. Every episode you're like, really again, Mark? And I'm here for it.
That's me and Lewis with Eve's Bayou.
Right. Every time we're like, woo, Debbie Morgan nailed it.
It's sort of a film too that I feel like obviously Warren Beatty is great in it, and it feels like a movie that Mark Maron would constantly reference, but I feel like it's sort of a film that's lost to modern audiences. We need some sort of revival of it.
I love that people are like, okay, they're going to talk about McCabe and Mrs. Miller for 10 minutes. But it is also like the whole movie feels like it's filmed through cheesecloth. It's very strange. I don't love the look of it. Hot take. And they can keep it, if you know what I mean.
Right. No, I'm pretty sure it's Quentin Tarantino who hates either the look of the movie or the sound. I think it's the sound in particular he can't stand about the movie. But yeah, watch it for Julie Christie. And also, of course, Warren Beatty did used to be the hottest man who ever lived. And speaking of the two of them, of course, they're lovely in Shampoo as well.
Oh my God. I have a friend who fucked Warren Beatty for many years. I'm not going to say her name, but like
Annette?
She would, before Annette. And I will say, from all stories point to a great lay. Yeah.
I mean, a white man with lips. Let's say that.
Let's say
before
that.
Lisa Rinna, so you know that's not plumped.
Yeah, right. No, it makes no sense. Because, like, does Shirley MacLaine have, like, big lips? Like, I always remain baffled by their being related.
Well, that is. I mean, where's that documentary about those? Just Thanksgiving dinner with those two. Like, I need that immediately. Are they on good terms? I feel like they haven't been, but they probably are now, right?
Yeah, it probably comes and goes. You know what I mean? I
can't imagine Shirley's easy.
No.
You know, there's always that moment for
her,
Annette where
she
she's like, Shirley's coming over. Shirley's coming over. Right. Okay. Okay. You can do this, Annette. Like, she's like pinching her cheeks, like trying to get herself awake. Like, it's going to be a long Christmas. It's going to be a long Christmas.
Yeah, right. I think Annette and Warren really share like a pragmatism vibe. Like they seem very like down and with it. And I think Shirley has the sense of humor of a pragmatic person, but is of course, you know, a little out there. So there's probably a little bit of distance here.
And I want to make it very clear. I will do anything to ever have a martini in Malibu, like that picture of Shirley MacLaine having that enormous. You've seen that paparazzi photo of her wearing that huge sun hat, having. I don't even know they made martinis that big. At what appears to be noon, is joining that lunch is my epitome of heaven. Ultimately, really.
Well, I mean, by the way, in our neighborhood, you need to try the martini at San Sabino because it's perfect.
You know what? I've actually never been there.
Yeah,
I walk by it all the time,
and it is stuffed with feta. The olives are.
I don't like cheese in my drink.
Decadence.
Oh, all right. Well, I hate olives, and I hate like blue cheese olives, but I tried this feta one, and I asked for like an extra one. It's so good.
Okay, all right.
Just try it.
I'm not an olive girl, but I don't. I guess okay. I'll try it. I'll take your word for it. Do you ever see Ellen Barkin walking around our neighborhood?
I do. I do see Ellen Barkin. Yeah,
I love Ellen Barkin.
I see her like
Ellen Barkin. Come on, keep it. Jesus.
Oh please! I literally see her like once a week walking her dog, and my dog likes her dog, and I always try to like make that a thing between us, but it's never worked, and I always walk away being like, God, no, damn it, she didn't fall in love with you, and but one of these days,
I feel like that will happen. I'm not being facetious. It feels like that will actually happen. But by the way, speaking of the city of New York City, I also, of course, one of the great prostitutes of all time is Jane Fonda and Clute.
I was waiting for you to bring up Jane Fonda.
Okay, well, let's just say this. The therapy scenes are, of course, magnificent or whatever, but what I actually love most about the character is the way it's the stereotype of a prostitute in movies, which is hardened to the world, difficult to access, but only through like a dogged investigator who can see her or whatever, and then also just involved in like lots of audio recordings, like just like the scandal of everything about her, and of course a mystifying haircut.
I was just about to say the hair in that movie. I mean, I think at some point when I was like a 20-year-old twink, I think I had a version of that haircut. Like I thought I was Zac Efron, but ultimately I was just Jane Fonda and Clute. And I'm
the traditional gay experience. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would be remiss if I did end with bringing up like hot men who are gigolos on screen. Obviously, Richard Gere in American Gigolo is. God, you just love watching him walk in that movie. And My Own Private Idaho.
Well, My Own Private Idaho, yes, and Mysterious Skin. Though I think he's a little young, but he's wonderful in that. It's beautiful, that movie.
That's a dark film.
Yeah. I love Mysterious Skin. That's definitely the best Greg Araki movie, and it's crazy that is Brady Corbet, now the director of The Brutalist.
Mm-hmm. Also, Michelle Trachtenberg is in it. Louis.
Yes. Oh,
Big
no,
tried to erase her as a film actress.
Yeah, right. Quite. Yes, no, I wasn't denying that Michelle Trachtenberg had been in a movie before. I believe that there was a Harriet and she did spy. But I'm just saying,
that
if
girl
we're
was
talking
nosy.
about the in memoriam, you have to
She
get
was
rid of
nosy.
something.
She was a nosy bitch. I have to say that the scene when she goes and tells that girl, Marion, your dad, he doesn't love you, that I feel like that's part of my origin as a bitch. That is one of the nastiest reads I've ever seen on film.
Part of my identity is Eartha Kitt's eye mask in Harriet the Spy. And Harriet needs to get out of her dumbwaiter. Get out of Eartha Kitt's dumbwaiter, honey.
also just obsessed with like the latter, like nondescript parts of careers like Eartha Kitt. Like she still got to pay the bills in the 90s, and she ended up in Harriet the Spy. Like who made that call? You know,
Boomerang and Harriet the Spy.
yeah. Santa baby, whatever.
Well, Jeffrey, thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you for having me. I
the
adore
book
you
is
both.
fantastic. I told you.
you're such a fun,
I
awesome
enjoyed
writer.
it.
Thank you. I adore you both. I miss seeing both of you, but I'm not leaving my house.
Right. We
Hey,
will
you
hello
should've.
again to quote the movie poster that's hanging right behind you, starring
Hello
Shelley
again.
Long.
Yeah, you shouldn't. The weather's not great in New York still. Anyway, I'm in Mexico, so
Too cold.
I'll see you. I'll see you in the spring.
Fabulous. All right. Well, wonderful to see you, boys.
Keep It is brought to you by Armra Colostrum. When I saw Demi Moore basically disintegrate herself to look young and hot, I first thought, well, I'm black. But the cure-all to looking 22 again hasn't been invented, and so Louis and I have found a close second.
Armor colostrum is a bioactive food that promotes glowing skin, growing hair, and a more resilient immune system. And with RFK Jr. in the cabinet, you know that's something we'll all need. Armor colostrum also fortifies your gut health and guards against irritants that can cause bloating and constipation. And whether you're in the gym often or just getting into it, Armor colostrum has been shown to enhance nutrient absorption, promote lean muscle building, and improve endurance while fueling cellular repair regeneration for faster recovery. We've worked out a special offer for our audience. Receive 15% off your first order. Go to tryarmra.com/keepit or enter keep it to get 15% off your first order. That's tryarmra.com/keepit.
Keep It is brought to you by Helix. And when I say Helix, the he I'm talking about is Louis.
I am having a party every single night on my Helix mattress. I love it. Did I tell you I bought decadent black sheets recently because I want to live in a real satiny nighttime universe?
Okay. I did not see that for you, but you know what? It feels very 90s music video airing on VH1.
I'm one of the beautiful people, if you will.
Well, I also feel like you having the Midnight Lux mattress sort of fits the, all black theme.
True, I can just howl in the middle of the night because I love my mattress so much. Sure, I will. Go to helixsleep.com/keepit for 20% off site-wide. That's helixsleep.com/keepit for 20% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/keepit.
And we are back with our favorite segment of the episode. Louis, what's your keep it?
So there's this new show, Adolescence, on Netflix, and all I had heard was you have to watch this show. I didn't know what that meant. It's sort of a foreboding title. When you see the picture, there's sort of a kid glowering and his dad in the foreground. This show is unbelievably amazing, and my keep it goes to this show that it is only 4 episodes long because the epic nature of what you're watching seems to indicate you're going to get 7 to 8 episodes really diving into these characters, and it feels like it cuts it off too early. I've never felt that way about a TV show. As you know, like even The White Lotus right now, I'm kind of wishing it were 5 episodes as opposed to whatever it ends up being 8. Like Big Little Lies season 2 probably would have been good if it were 4 episodes, This is a show about a kid. I'll try not to give anything away, but a 13-year-old boy is charged with murdering a classmate. And
as you do.
Right, you get a little upset. Who knows? But this is a show where all 4 episodes are one continuous take. So you're watching, like when in the first episode, the kid gets arrested, and then you're taken to the police station, and they find a way to follow the car there. The action doesn't stop. And first of all, as far as the first episode goes, it's just interesting from a perspective of a lot of police type shows are boiled down to the confrontations, like this person screaming at that person, and then whatever, we watch that character break down. But in this case, you get these small moments where like the cops regroup and talk about the case, and then maybe you get something that's a little bit more slice of life humdrum before you get into this room with this alleged killer. It's just it's wild to watch the technical prowess of the show. It's a bravura directing moment. All 4 episodes are completely different. One is him talking with a psychologist. Anyway, all I'm saying is I stayed up hours last night just watching this. I could not let this show go, and yet it let me go because it feels like they could have gone much further with this. So I have to say keep it to the weird, oddly truncated feeling of this show.
Yeah, and Netflix released the takes that they used for each episode. And episode 1, they used take 2, which was shot on shoot day 1 of 5. Episode 2 was take 13, which was shot on shoot day 5 of 5. Episode 3 is take 11, which was shot on shoot day 5 of 5. And episode 4 was take 16 on the last day that they shot that episode.
I saw an interview with the kid star of this, who is amazing, by the way. And all these actors I'm not familiar with, they all deserve to win. I'm telling you, you're watching the Emmy winners when you watch this show. They said that they would do 2 takes a day, as in of the full episode. So you're getting one take at a time that they're all in. It's like they're doing a giant 1-act play in a bunch of locations in order to film this show. I've never seen anything like it. It's completely remarkable. And anybody reviewing the show would say the same thing. If I had a criticism, I might say maybe it's easy to want to turn on a show that's impressing you so much technically. You're like, is this, maybe compensating for a lack of material? But it's not. The characters are unbelievable. It's devastating. There's not a note that feels like they reshot it, and of course they didn't.
A kid murdering a classmate is giving Law and Order.
Yep.
And I just want to say, maybe we just need to make prestige TV shows out of Law and Order plotlines.
And by the way, Essa Patha Merkerson, just be in more things. Thanks. Ira, what's your keep it?
My keep it goes to the new production of Othello. That's how we say Othello in the theater world.
Oh, yeah. And where you're from, Italy. Right.
I'm a Moor.
Got it.
Of Venice.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. My keep it goes to Othello, not because I'm not interested in seeing Denzel fucking Washington play Othello and Jake Gyllenhaal play Iago. That sounds so fucking amazing to me. The last production of Othello that I saw was Daniel Craig and David Oyelowo play this role, and that was amazing. And it was set sort of in a military setting in Afghanistan or something, I believe. And so I'm really excited. I was excited to see this until I went on Telecharge and was like, how much are tickets? I looked up a matinee showing at 1 p.m., by the way. A house seat all the way in the back is $600 fucking dollars.
Wow. I did see a note that the first week sales for this play made it the highest grossing play of all time for 1 week of sales.
Yeah, with $930 fucking tickets. No wonder.
Oh, I get it now.
Even the cheap seats are like $400 fucking dollars. Are you kidding me?
No, I will say this though. I mean, is there anything more like cultural apex than Denzel Washington playing Othello? I mean, like, that's a Tony secured. In fact, additional keep it, I do not like that Cola Scola will have to compete against Denzel Washington in Othello for the play acting Tony. Feels like, a comedy like Oh Mary should kind of be in a different category. But at the same time, I guess losing to Denzel Washington in Othello is a pretty good way to go.
It's an iconic way to lose.
Yeah.
But wow, that is just what's so funny about it too is there was a reporter from the Post who was set to review it, and they wrote an article about the $900 tickets and said that they were disinvited. And then they went and paid for their own ticket and did a review and slammed it.
Ooh.
Now they are from the Post, so
right, yeah,
they could be fucking
it's
lying
some contrariana.
about how bad it is.
Yes,
yeah, just because they're angry. I'm gonna see the show somehow. Denzel. Denzel, you want to take me to see the show?
I'm sorry, who is this coy prostitute character you're playing?
Denzel,
and does
baby,
she work often?
Denzel, baby, I'll do anything. I'll do anything for a ticket. That reminds me, I want to end by saying, that reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen this clip online of Janet Jackson. I think it's like early 2000s, maybe like the All For You tour. She's being interviewed on ET or something, and the interviewer is asking, oh yeah, like I would love to come and see the show, Janet, etc. As she turns to him, she's like, for free?
Where has this Janet gone? She doesn't come out often. She's not like the wisecracking Jackson sibling. You know what I mean? So good for her.